Hey, hello, friends. Welcome back. Welcome to the Community Chorus Show. Did you notice we had an upgrade in our
I'm loving some of the new clips that opening.
You know, that's the best. That's the best you could do in about an hour this afternoon, barring some of our many talents from the 12 Days of 12th Night Festival right there, including some video production work by none other than Andrew Ledestri. But we also had a cameo with Pam and other great things in there. So
fantastic!
It's amazing. It's so great to be back here. It's great to see you all. We have survived and made it here to the almost the end of the winter. We're kind of more than 2/3 of the way through, I'd say.
It's supposed to be 40 degrees here in New Hampshire tomorrow. It's insane.
Well, that's like you might as well take out the barbecues and the shorts and going out there. Is there still a lot of snow on the ground in New Hampshire?
Yeah, it's pretty deep, and the river is all frozen over still, and that'll be a long time coming out the other end. But it's been that sort of permafrost layer of like 8 inches for a while now.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad the permafrost is slowly going away. Well, there is Andrew Ledestri, and to my right or your left to my right or whatever is Andrew Howell, and below me on the screen is Aimee the Blanchette and Michael the Freitas on there. Welcome, friends. Thanks for being back here. Hope you're all doing well.
Absolutely.
Yo, look good. Everybody looks good. Good stuff.
I have a fun fact.
A fun fact. I like fun facts. Go ahead.
There's a lady in the New York Times today. She's 105 years old, and one of her longevity secrets is eating 9 gin-soaked raisins every morning.
9
Brilliant. I gotta prepare for that.
I think that opens up a whole floodgate of different things that might be soaked in gin that just have to happen every day if you want to become that old.
I mean, I've only been having 7, so that must be my problem. Like, who knew the formula?
And it's 9 the maximum? Did the article read, or did the article say 9 would be the maximum, or is there?
That you might have to adapt it for your own special self.
Yeah, metric system, it's like 9.42 divided by 6.
Yeah.
So I was told there'd be no math. Anyway, welcome to the Community Chorus Show again. Andrew Howell, Angela Ledestri, Aimee Blanchette, Mike Freitas. I'm Ryan Saunders. Thanks for coming back to the internet with us. I'm sure you have plenty of other things to do, or maybe you don't right now, but we're so glad you found us here on the YouTube channel. And we'd always like to thank our friends at the Rhode Island State Council on the Arts for making all of this possible. God bless you for making this possible. But also thank you to our friends at the Blue Mitten Thrift Shop, the shop that helps the Chorus of Westerly sing and make such great music. You can find all sorts of delights and treasures at their store located on Main Street in downtown Westerly, right near the old right near the pizza place and the beer place. And you can go buy some raisins at the convenience store and then dip them in gin, and you can go shopping at the Blue, and then you'll live to 105. So it'll all work out fine.
You heard it
here.
Well,
listen, we're excited to be back. We are going to be running the Community Chorus Show kind of every other week here throughout the spring, and then having some of our lecture series also on the opposite weeks. So you'll get as much Chorus of Westerly FaceTime as you want from us every couple of weeks, or Andrew and I probably more frequently. But you can find all of our old shows still on our YouTube channel, which if you found this show, you probably found our YouTube channel. So thank you for coming back. And today we have a very special guest with us that we'll bring in just a moment here. A longtime friend of the chorus, singer of the chorus, former board member, our advisor as we have created our new education program. It's not new anymore, but over the last 8 or so years, really been implemented here, and a great colleague, mentor, friend to all of us, particularly to Andrew and his work on educating both the children and the adults of the Chorus of Westerly. That up sometime for us over the next couple of months to see. But anyway, Audrey is is quite a talented human being. First of all, she's one of the kindest, most gracious people you'll ever meet in your life. And she has probably taught, I don't know, she can tell us better than this, hundreds or so young men and women in the music education field, both at the University of Rhode Island, at Peabody, at Johns Hopkins in Maryland, and at all sorts of other stops out there. She's currently an associate professor of music and the director of music education at the University of Rhode Island, and she's teaching undergrad and graduate courses. And many of our chorus of Westerly types that have come through, including Andrew, have had the chance to study with her, but also Genevieve Spitali, who works in our office, and several of her other prize students have passed through at one time or another. So we've directly benefited from not only her kindness, but those of her students. She started her career, which I want to know more about later, teaching in public schools in Montana and Nevada, which is about as far away from Rhode Island as you can get. I mean, maybe not geographically, but maybe world-wise, and came back here. But she's had an amazing career, and we are just going to learn a little bit about it today and a little bit about Audrey and have some fun with one of our favorite people. So, Ben, let's bring in Dr. C. Slam dunk that G-Clef right into the Community Chorus Show.
Oh, my God.
My first question is, Audrey, do you play basketball?
I actually did in high school. I joined the basketball team for 2 years because all my friends were there.
Wow. So I'm not far off with you slam dunking a G-Clef. I like that.
Yeah, I was better with the G-Clef and the F-Clef than I was with any other kind of situation, team sport.
Well, I think next time we can all get together, which could be a while, right? We should all play basketball. Michael played some hoops this weekend too. He's got his Dunkachino, as he calls it.
Yeah.
It's right there. And Aimee, we played basketball before back in the day.
I have played basketball before. That is true.
But with me, I mean, I just kind of like the idea of us having a basketball team. I mean, it's a starting five, so it could be 5 of us and one person can be the 6th person off the bench. That could be win.
That's a cheerleader. You mean cheerleader? I'm on it.
Can I just ask if you'd like to contribute to our knee replacement surgery GoFundMe? The link is below. Right.
Yeah, I wasn't going to mention that it was a geriatric game, but it absolutely will.
Fair enough. Hey, whatever we can do to pass the times. So, Audrey, thank you for coming on here and spending some time with us today. First of all, how are you? How is Brian? How is life teaching and working for you during this COVID crisis?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking. And if anybody can get me to join a basketball team again, it's going to be this group.
Yes.
I can't believe what I've been able to do because of the peer pressure that I invite from the 5 of you.
Raisins and gin.
Accurate.
Well, we're doing great. March was really rough last year, and we pivoted pretty quickly. And then in the fall, we just didn't really know what to do. The University of Rhode Island Music Department was fortunate that we looked at the science and we made it possible to make music together. It looks a little different. We're 6 feet apart. We're 14 apart. I'm really nervous, and I almost said a word that's not very polite. But anyway,
that's okay. Don't worry. It's a family
we
show.
all know those words, Audrey.
I'm doing so great so far. I'm doing.
Have another gin covered raisin. You'll be fine. It'll be good.
No, we PPE for the singers, PPE for the players, and we're doing great. Brian's been jumping right in with the concert band and so on. Yeah, and the good thing about it was that when I had to go online with my students, I already knew them. So I'd already bonded with them in the fall. And so that was kind of smooth. This semester is a little more awkward because I've got some students I hadn't met in person yet. So it was really exciting when we finally got to meet each other. That was really helpful. But we're looking forward to things getting better. And yeah, that's all I got.
Oh no, that's more than enough. That's more than enough. It's funny that you talk about students that you haven't actually met yet, because I was thinking about that earlier today. There is just now a generation of different kids going to college or to graduate school, where they haven't had the normal process of being brought into that community. What are some of the, I mean, are you finding that difficult to work with students that you just really haven't physically laid eyes on, or are they just naturally, blending right in?
Yes, I'm finding it somewhat difficult, but it's mitigated by the fact that they do have classes face-to-face, and in particular, they have music making classes, because what we have discovered about this online situation is that where do we go when we are forced to be separated? We go to the arts, we go to music, and that saved us. So we have found a way to make music together. I've had to do a lot more talking and a lot more slowing down to get to know students. I think the biggest thing this year that was kind of surprised me at how much it kind of tore at my heart a little bit. But I always do this activity with the first class that I have, which is a dance from, it's called the Indian stick dance, but that's not a really great name for it. But the Indian song is Dum Da Dum Samalu, and it's a folk dance where people use sticks from harvest and they mix around and they play all these wonderful things. I think we might have done it with teens with one of the very first musicianship classes. But what that activity does is it does what music does. It bonds us. It brings us together musically. And that has always been my first class. And it's always been, since I've been teaching in higher ed, I have taught that activity to some college class. So if students meet somebody down in the future and say, have you ever had a class with Audrey Cardany? Be like, oh yeah, we did that stick dance. And they'll know each other, like instantly, like we can bridge that. And this is the first year we haven't been able to do it. So
they have a shared community to start, and that's the trick.
Yeah, even if they weren't in the same class, if they were 10 years apart or 5 years apart, they will have had the same musical experience. And it's kind of cool. So I miss that. We're going to come back to it sometime.
Well, it's thank you for sharing that, because it is one of those, it really, I mean, I obviously am not married to a college professor. I'm married to a kindergarten teacher, but just watching, and Aimee's a teacher as well, watching different educators having to adapt through all of this. I think, there's just so much. It's so hard for all of these students, teachers, but there is that bonding that you're talking about, like through the dance and stuff like that. Recreating that is very hard, even if you try through things like Zoom. So tell us a little bit. So you're first of all, just to clear up, if no one has met you before, your husband also works at the University of Rhode Island, is in the music department, and he's the director of bands. Is that the correct title?
He's the associate director of bands.
Associate director of bands.
Yep.
So
the director of the American Band. He directs, which is one of the longest running community bands in the country. He conducts a pops organization, a symphony pops organization, which had just come together. He had just jumped on board to that before COVID. And he also does a community string group, I think through the Wakefield Parks and Rec stuff. So he's out there. He's doing a lot of conducting, and which is what feeds him.
It is amazing. So you two are a very musical couple. And so what fascinated about your bio, like I know a lot about where your roots are, but your roots are not here in Rhode Island. And of course, your teaching career started in two very different Western states. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about, not necessarily how you got involved with music, or maybe that way, but where you kind of came from. You worked out West, and how you sort of found your way really here to Rhode Island and to Bryan, University of Rhode Island, all of this.
Yeah, so I'm from the Midwest and the West. I grew up in North Dakota. I came from a very musical family, although not. My father played the guitar and my mother sang, and that is the way that we were together. I'm 4 of 6 children, and my parents valued music education so much that all of us had to take piano lessons. That was pretty cool. I'll shorten this long life story.
It's your show.
But my father moved us to Wyoming, and we lived a block away from the high school, which was the best thing that could happen to a girl that had just moved to a new town, because I joined everything. Every musical group, musical theater, any organization that was doing something in the arts, I joined it because all I had to do was, I was there in 30 seconds. And then I got my degree, my bachelor's music performance in voice and music education. And then I got in a car, as we do in the West. We drive to a lot of places. And my first job was up in Columbia Falls, Montana. I stayed there for a year, and it was too far away from family because I'd have to drive to Kalispell. You don't know where Columbia Falls is. It's up by Glacier National Park, which is gorgeous. But I'd have to drive to Kalispell, get on a tiny plane, go to a bigger plane, and then drop. It was awful to see my family. And so then I moved. I got a job outside of Reno, Nevada, and I taught in a little town called Fernley, and I taught there for 9 years. And I loved it. I loved Reno. I got into hiking a lot, and there I got my master's degree. And I was going to go into administration, and one of my mentors said to me, "You don't want to do that. Like, you love music too much. You love teaching music too much. You should get a doctorate." And I was like, "Oh, that's a lot of school." By then I'm a full-fledged adult, and I told my folks, and my dad said, "Aren't you smart enough?" Like, and he was very, very much not only valued music education, but valued education. And so he was really, he really, that was quite a teasing thing to say to his adult daughter. And I was like, no. So I went to Arizona State University and I got my doctorate, and that's where I met Brian. And while I was there, I founded an early childhood music and movement program with a very close friend of mine, Shelley Cooper. And so that brings me to being someone who's taught ages 2 to 82 in music in some form. And then how did I get to Rhode Island? That's a really that's the rub, isn't it? So I met Brian. We had a lot of coffees, spent a lot of time talking music. What's more important, the words or the music? It's the words. So we had a lot of conversations, and then they brought him on board at the University of Rhode Island. And the same year that so he was here for a year, and I had just gotten a job offer up in upstate New York at the Crane School of Music. And the day before I got the job offer, Brian proposed.
Wow. That was a couple of days.
Yeah. So I thought, well, I think I'd like to live in the same state as my husband.
Yeah.
Bold choice.
Innovative.
So I said, thank you very much. I would have loved to go to upstate New York. No, the snow did not scare me because I grew up in North Dakota. So
right.
I was fine without it. And then I came to Rhode Island, and we had the luck that Carolyn Livingston at the time was moving toward retirement. And so I had stepped in and took over for her during a sabbatical. And then a year passed, and then she retired, and I interviewed and was hired. And then I left, and then I came back, and I'm here to stay. And that is the end.
That was an amazing tale, because you really, I mean, not that you went to all 50 states, but boy, you've really been around, not to say that people stay at a particular region in their life, but North Dakota, Nevada, Arizona, they're like, for us, they're like, oh, they're 3 different states. But I mean, we got like Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, where it's stressful for people in Rhode Island to, do the length of the state every day. But you really did move, when you're talking about had to take a plane to another plane to try, you really have been all over the place doing things, and that you're here with us now is, I mean, we're lucky that the winds blew you here to where we are.
I count them, how many different places I've had a driver's license. And of all the places I've lived, North Dakota is the only place I didn't have a driver's license. So I went to North Dakota, Montana, Nevada, Arizona, Rhode Island, Maryland, Rhode Island again. And 7 turns out to be the lucky number, because I am here to stay. You're going to have to kick me out, because I'm done. I'm done moving. I'm here to stay. I'm going to make it the place that we want to live, which is, we love it. We love it. We love Rhode Island.
We're happy to hear that.
Can I ask a strange music education question? So, and this might not be a thing, but I'm, looking at us all in this medium where we are here, as you're teaching teachers or planning what teachers are taught in that way, is there a whole thing since COVID that becomes about how to teach and work in these sort of platforms and work with kids in that way? Or is that something that was happening long before that? And I'm just not ahead of the game in that way.
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrew. The short answer is yes. We were working on how to teach music through technology. Music technology was a thing. It was part of our curriculum to some degree, and by our, I mean the field of music education. But COVID launched us into becoming experts on a lot of platforms, and I had already been weaving platforms into some of my teaching so that students would experience it. So when they go out, they would have some idea. But, here's some platforms you absolutely need to know how to do. Like you should probably know Audacity. You should probably know how to use a slideshow or PowerPoint and make something interactive with children. To those kinds of things as to about the software and the hardware, but also about how to wait even longer. Wait time, how to, when you're teaching in this forum and their screens are off, how do you know they're there, and how do you keep them there, and how do you teach with some grace because you're in their homes, and they're looking into your home, and so that's a whole ethical kind of thing that we have to have conversations about. And my dear friend and fellow chorister, Jen Collins, and I, those long conversations that we have about that and how to make sure, in particular, how do we keep the joy of music making that you get when you literally inhale the same air and exhale beautiful sounds? How do we do that?
Well, how's that for an answer, Andrew?
I'm just fantastic. I mean, do you see... We all want to be in the same room again. We all want to be singing in the same way again. But at the same time, we're all dealing with technology in this way. And in some ways, it then allows you to connect to people so much further away who wouldn't get a chance to work with you in the way that they are if you're over this sort of platform. I mean, do you see this kind of thing as something that's here to stay in terms of like the curriculum and the things that you teach teachers to do?
Yeah, I think it's here to stay. We were moving in this direction for quite a while, and this catapulted us to being here. I also think that many of us who are whose philosophy is bound up in music as a way to be human, right, and a way to express our humanity, and that we're going to cherish even more those opportunities to be face to face. The other thing I wonder about, and I've always wondered about this since I remember hearing an advertisement that said, "The Great Wall of China, you don't even have to leave your couch." And I was like, that's awesome, because I know I'm never going to get to the Great Wall of China because that seems really far and I hate flying on a plane. And that was before all the stuff, right? And you know what? It turns out that you can't really do that. But if you are someone who got to travel to the Great Wall of China, and then you were experiencing it electronically in other ways, you could bring that real experience with you to the virtual. Mm-hmm. So what I'm feeling about with music is that I can hang on to the virtual choral experience. I can hang on to the virtual music making experience because I'm taking the face-to-face human experience. I'm bringing those with me to this two-dimensional space. And because I've had that experience, I can draw on that and be fed musically through this kind of forum. But I don't know, and I don't think my colleagues know yet, what is the musical experience that folks will have. Like they're having this two-dimensional experience. I keep calling it two-dimensional, which may or may not be right. But how do we bring that joy to them? You know, I think we're going to be here online, but if they don't ever get what it's like to go and sing together, then how do we get that to them? Because that's a thing. I mean, that's a thing.
Super fascinating.
I would start with a short answer, which is either yes or no, and then I yak because I'm a professor.
No, that's
Why we ask? It's amazing. Thank you.
no, and that's it's a good. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that is really fascinating. So let me ask you more of a philosophical question, I guess, for your professorship here. So we've at the chorus, and Andrew, you can jump on this too. So really what Andrew started, and you came on board with us too in this process, we sort of shifted the model a bit in which we train singers, and that we really went more from just learning it by ear to actually putting some more, that process is there, but putting some more meat behind it by teaching solfege, all sorts of things. And it's been fascinating to watch that program develop with the children and the teenagers, especially with the teenagers we have now, who basically started the core of them started the program with Andrew at the very beginning, and you at the very beginning, and are now on their way out the door to college. So, and you can see that progression. And kids you can shape and you can train and they follow instructions. My question for you is there a point, you've worked with the adults in the chorus and you've worked with adults too. Is there a point where you really, it's very difficult for adults to start to learn? I guess let me rephrase this. How do you teach adult singers or people who have been involved in music their whole way? How do you sort of retrain them? I don't want to say untrain them, but retrain them or introduce concepts like solfege to them where they've gotten a whole other system in their ear? How do you do that?
Wow, that's a great question. I'm going to start with what I tell my students about teaching technology, because what you're going to be successful with the content if you can start with the disposition. So if you can open up with fostering the desire to learn it, and adults can be motivated as well. If you can give them, adults really like to know the reason, and they don't like that they are really good at something, and then something comes along and they're like, how do I not know this? How am I not, like, I'm a great this, I'm a great that, but why can't I do this one little thing, or this seems easy? And so and I think I might have delivered this in the early adult musicianship sessions that Andrew made time for during the rehearsal, which was, I'm just going to step back because I just want to say to Andrew, I have been so impressed with your openness and your willingness to say, here's the group. Do some stuff with them. I mean, you are so open to bringing as much as you can in for your singers. So I'm very grateful for that. Okay, so back to this thing.
You're also brilliant, and I know that anything you in particular do with them is going to be beneficial. So thank you for being willing to step in and do that.
So kind. So I have this little thing that I've done. I have been a trainer for the Kodály levels training. Kodály teaching and approach is a particular way from Sultan Kodály. It's a way of thinking about how to teach music. And when I first started teaching at Arizona State University in the summers for their program, I had some ideas that some of the music teachers weren't ready for, and so some of them pushed back. So my little story about getting the disposition was, okay, so here's something that you already knew how to do it this way, and we're asking you to do it this way. And so the normal thing is, I already know that, I know that, well, I can't do it that way, can't do that way. And my request to you is to do this. And say, have an open arms disposition. Okay, you're asking me to sing La bass minor. That's not my thing. Do bass minor is best. But instead of saying, I know do bass minor, I've always done it, I'm really great at it, go, oh, La bass minor, I'm going to give it a shot. Maybe it's cool. And that's where I start with adults, and that's actually where I start with my students too, because we can all be a little defensive about new things. It's really it's uncomfortable. We're adults, especially when you're an adult. You're like, I already know stuff. I'm already successful. I get a paycheck.
Yeah, well, the reason I bring that up is that it's not, and again, not to pick on one group or the other, but children and teenagers, they're in a school-based system to begin with, so they're kind of programmed a little bit more to accept instruction. I mean, certainly, as Aimee can attest with high schoolers, they do push back and they have their quirks too. There's no question about that. But you know, it's you know, what does Yoda say in Star Wars? You have to unlearn what you have learned. But when you're trying to teach, what I've just been fascinated with. So getting to the end game here is that I've been fascinated to watch now with Andrew running these virtual rehearsals where he's doing his solfege and this and that, how some of the folks who were struggling or resistant to it early on, I mean, I sometimes in the virtual things go to screen to watch the different people, and they're into it. And I can tell there's still some that maybe aren't, but they're trying, and it's watching them come over this hurdle. It's to me, it's like, how do you start, you know, how do you train people that have had all these years of experience? And you're right too, because it's interesting in a community chorus setting where we want everyone to excel. We want to bring them to the next level, but they're not, in most cases, professionals who've been doing this all of the time. So they're not going to be flawless. But at the same time too, we all have our insecurities, and we never like to have our insecurities brought forward. So yeah, I'm curious. I was just curious at how you kind of went about that and structured that. I don't know, Andrew Howell, is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
I would just say that I think one of the reasons, hopefully, that people are more open to it right now, or might be giving themselves into actually trying new things, is because we've lost so much of the rest of the trappings of what it is we do in a rehearsal. So we've broken down those usual, well, we're prepping this repertoire and that's our focus, and now we really are just kind of in the trenches, digging into things and doing some, you know, a little bit of music making, but a lot more focus on the other side of things. And that's giving people the opportunity to really focus on that and use this time to grow in a different way, rather than focusing on the, you know, the entree of the evening, Brahms Requiem or whatever, which is typically what people are so focused on in this in our line of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before we get to that, we're going to go to our fun things in a couple of seconds here, if this is not fun. But I want to ask another question about how you work and teach with your students. And that comes to, you know, you're teaching the future music educators of not just the country, but of the world, wherever they might be going, in different public schools, private sector, wherever. How do you spend any time with them sort of on advocacy efforts for their field and their discipline? And if, just because, you know, we always hear, oh, art's the first thing cuts, art's come off. Is there any sort of structure or program where you talk a little bit about them, about how to just almost advocate for their sector, or to bring, you know, like to go to see one of your students and say, tell me why music education is important? Is that part of your curriculum program?
Yeah, so I teach a class called Introduction to Music Teaching, and that includes our music education majors as well as our performance majors and composition majors, any degree other than our music therapy degree, because they have a different introductory class that they take. And we start with identifying why children should be educated in music. And we start with why they think that we should educate the populace in music. And so we start with that, understanding that we're teaching music skills, or we're teaching music concepts, and we use repertoire to get to this, to build a music vocabulary, a music library in our own heads and in our own world. But why are we doing that? Why do we work so hard on law-based minor? What's the point? It's so that we can make music together, right? So, and that's music philosophy of music education is such a huge field, but it has to start with each individual knowing their own why.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I sound a little bit like Oprah. What's your why? But yeah, what's your why for music? Why are you studying it? Why is it so important in your life? And then can you see that for the children that you're teaching, whether it's a studio session or the people that you're performing for? Why are they there? And can you communicate that why? And can you offer a why to keep a healthy music culture and a healthy music setting? My dog is growling at his cousin Maisie right now, so I am not like, that's not me. Oh, Okay.
Wow.
I have to do treats. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. That's
Everybody,
I
treats
just love.
everywhere. Treats.
Give them raisins.
Are those gin soaked raisins? I was
Yeah. Buy it right now.
Andrew, what were you gonna say? Andrew Howell?
I was just going to say, I love that not only is that a discussion that is had at some point, but that's how you begin. I feel like that's such a wonderful entry point into the program, starting from the why and their particular why, and then getting to hear every other person in the class and their why to see what's universal and what's independent. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's such. I mean, I feel like in the the reason I asked. I mean, at my end, I asked that question is, for all of us, and we're all involved in the arts in these capacities, but advocating for our sector is so important. But understanding your own why is where you start. It's the root of all of it. And especially right now, I do think that as we come out of COVID-19, I think there has been, strangely enough, a weird appreciation for all of the lively arts in particular because we've been shut down. Like all of a sudden it's like, whoa, where did they go? And to say that, to be fair, for the most part, government, private sources, they've been very generous in their funding to keep us alive. And but I think it's so key for people who are educating in the arts to understand their inner self. I love that too. And just to give you a little plug here too, that this today, just under a week from today, there is a bond referendum in Rhode Island, and question number 2, right, Audrey? And I got my number right?
I think it's question 1.
Or 1? Well, vote for all of them, but vote for 1. There's a bond down there to support the University of Rhode Island and the facilities there, including a new fine arts money for the Fine Arts Center. Mm-hmm. So it's worth voting for. And if you already have a ballot at home, you can fill it out and you can send it in. You should also vote for bond question number 6, which is more funds for the Cultural Facilities Bond Program. And which there's money that's set aside for the Philharmonic and Trinity Rep, but also another couple $1 million for the rest of the arts organizations that can go to for their facilities. So I'm doing some advocating for the arts right now. So vote for URI Fine Arts, vote for the State Arts Cultural Fund, support those bond programs. Everyone's endorsing it because it's a good time to borrow some funds. But there you go. There's some love for the University of Rhode Island and the Fine Arts Building, which I know many of you have spent a lot of hours in. And
it needs the money.
It needs the money. It needs the money. All right. Are the dogs okay? Okay. Are the dogs afraid of thunder and lightning? Okay. Get those treats ready. Go dip them in the gin. Because it's time now for the lightning round.
Oh, no.
Cue it up, Ben. Let's. Oh, this is the best part of your day right here. It's just your best part coming up. So here's the deal. My fine friends here, Andrew, Aimee, and Mike, who I want to put an A in front of his name so he's a Mike, and a Mike, are each going to ask you 2 questions. We'll go right through it. You don't think about it. Just answer whatever is the first thing that comes to your mind. Are you ready to play the lightning round?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. Kick it off. Whoever's supposed to go first. Aimee.
Okay. What is your favorite choral warm-up?
I don't know.
How does that one go?
You can pass. There's no penalty.
It's 2-hand signing.
Yeah.
All right, Angela Destry.
Okay, it's a long car ride and you can only play one choral work on repeat. What is it?
Brahms Requiem.
Very good. Michael.
Who's your first music teacher?
Mrs. Hoppo.
All right.
Andrew.
What is your desert island book?
Lord of the Rings.
Yes! Good.
What is a piece of music that makes you think of summer?
Stars and Stripes Forever.
Angela Destry.
Wyoming, Nevada, or Arizona?
Wyoming.
Michael.
What's the first word of the music behind the lightning round there? What word would it come in there?
What?
The music to the lightning round?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry, the dog was barking. I have no idea.
What is it, Michael?
I would say Nicholas, but it might be later on in it.
Yep. All right, Andrew Howell for the last one of the lightning round.
What is the most annoying instrument in the general music classroom?
The bird whistle.
The
Oh.
bird whistle.
I love how you have it right with you.
I brought props in case we needed any.
I almost took my tuning fork up too.
Wow.
Audrey, do you know I have a couple tuning forks here in the house, and now Charlie all the time. Charlie has one. I hear it go, "Boo," or whatever. Then we're walking. All right, that's the lightning round, which you did very well. Close it up, then. Okay, now we normally would just close it up with the lightning round and let you go and say nice things about you, but we can't let that happen for you. So instead, Andrew Peter Howell has come up with a very special, different version of it. Yes, it is the musical terms speed dating game. So you ready to play some speed dating with musical terms? All right, then.
Wow. That was fantastic.
All right. If you want to date with this musical term, you're gonna have to we're gonna read you a line, and you're gonna have to tell us what we are.
So these are quotes from the online dating profile of specific music terms, okay? So we're going to read you the quote, and you have to tell us what that quote is describing. Who is it?
Don't worry. It'll be easy.
Aimee, you're first.
All right.
Aimee, you're going first.
I just want to be held.
Oh, Fermata.
Yes.
I'm always hanging out in empty bars.
Whole rest.
Yes.
Yes.
You can't ignore me because I'm always getting louder.
Crescendo.
Yes. If you enjoy tea in pairs, look no further. Pairs of yes.
Oh, okay.
I'll make you stop dead in your tracks.
No way.
Double bar line.
That could work. What else? There's another thing.
Duncan.
Yes, that's correct. Which is railroad tracks. All aboard.
All right. If you're looking for dough, you come to the right place.
Well, I'm not really sure. I guess key signature?
Yes, exactly. Well done.
Fantastic at this.
I'm like, well, T tells you where dough, the last bar, the last.
All right.
Love it.
I've always got the time for you, and I'll help you organize your life.
Time signature.
Yes.
Not sure if you want to move slow or fast. I'll tell you what to do.
Well, some sort of tempo metronome marking?
Yes. Well done.
Wow.
I'll make you come back again and again.
Repeat sign.
Yes.
I'm here to help you find your true path, but I'm even better when I use my hands.
This one might be
Wow.
I'm here to help you find my true path.
Oh,
And I'm even better when I use my hands.
Irwin hand signs.
Soulfish, yeah. Wow.
All right. I'm sorry if I trail off, but I'm rather shy.
Well, decrescendo, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah. Or diminuendo.
Crescendo.
Okay, last one. I might lift you up or I might bring you down, but I do keep life interesting.
Oh dear.
Lift you up and
Conductor.
bring you down.
Is conductor the answer? I feel like that's it.
I think we could probably accept that.
You can accept it. That's not what we were going for, but
You're looking for
Oh,
accidentals.
Accidentals, of course.
I don't know. Andrew does even better when he uses his hands. All right, that's our speed
Well
dating.
done.
Congratulations, you've got it all. Wow.
Well, that makes
I'll never be the same again.
We lifted this from your first conversation with Brian. Actually, he sent us these earlier. It's like these are the lines you should use. No, thank Andrew for that. Did you come up with those all on your own, Andrew, or did you?
I did, yeah.
He's been thinking of those for decades.
Andrew's been just. That is some list. Well, Audrey, we just have a couple more minutes left here, and so I guess as we close, unless anyone else has anything for Audrey, so please go ahead and ask. Anyone? No, Bueller. What are you most? So let's jump ahead.
Okay.
And say we all have vaccine and everything is better and we can start to do things again. Is there something in particular you are most looking forward to doing in general, musically? What's like thing you keep holding on to, say, we're going to get there and that's what I want to do?
Well, I said this very shortly after the lockdown in March, is that I'm pretty sure I will weep the next time I sing with people. And I have since sung with groups of people, but it's lovely, and I did weep, but it's not the same as when you're, I think about the Chorus of Westerly. I mean, one of the reasons I joined the Chorus of Westerly is because I desperately needed to sing great works of art with musicians from, all ages, and, the orchestra coming in and soloists, and just making this complete experience. And I'm desperate for that experience once again. And it made me think about one of the first concerts I was in with the Chorus of Westerly, and I was so overcome with emotion with the applause and singing in that hall. And when the soloists came out and people were standing, and when the soloists came out, the applause started again. And I was so overwhelmed with it that I started applauding on the risers. And one of the veteran singers was like, we don't do that. And I was like, I didn't even realize I was doing it. I was just so overcome with emotion that we sung this amazing work. And I'm desperate for that again. I'm desperate to make music with people. I'm desperate to bring that art alive and sing the alto part to my heart's content.
Audrey, can I just tell you, you said early on in this interview that you would do better with yes and no questions because you would just pontificate as a professor. But I will tell you openly that we've taped a bunch of these shows, and this is the very first one where I have a whole list of notes that I've made, which I will go back and use in my daily life for a lot of other things. So what you think was you pontificating is like fantastic and amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrew. And you are the most amazing person who can be challenged to create a midnight snack and come up with an entire, oh my gosh.
Shinso phrases, they're on their way.
they're coming choreographed to the can. Like he'll have the whole like that too.
Every one of you are just so important to me. Mike, I think you were the first one to say Audrey ate, and I love that. I love it because people didn't really. Audiation was kind of like, that was one of those weird things, and that still makes me laugh. And of course, break. Like we all say break now.
Even on the Zooms.
And he told me all the stories. I think I followed her around at camp, and then what happened? And how'd you do that? And I think that she actually had to hide from me because I was so loving all the stories about the chorus, because that brought me into the family. And Ryan and Andrew, you know how I feel about you. You're just amazing. You just say things in the kindest way. And I love the chorus. I love the vision of it. And I love that I was privileged enough to be creating part of that vision. I can't wait till we do more.
You're here. We love you too.
Thank you.
Us too. And really, I think, so to everyone else watching out there, what's interesting is you've been seeing stuff of us virtually lately, and you see the concerts, but what you haven't really seen behind the scenes is really over the last, well, that last night they kept calling me out for the wrong number of years, Andrew, but the last 8-9 years, whatever the heck it's been. But there has been a real serious evolution with the chorus, especially on the education and training side, where we have a group of kids now going to college, about to go to college, who can sight read, who can who are just, they're not just good singers, they're very good musicians. They're also good people.
Yeah.
But it's been a testament to the hard work, Andrew, you put in, but also Audrey, you really guided us through that. When we kind of put our toe in the water to begin with, or Andrew in particular, and you are the talent. I'm just there nodding my head all the time, but it's been really wonderful to have you. There is a certain level of care and grace that you've brought to our organization, just being a part of our team, and we're so grateful for it. And you are just so much fun to have. And thank you. You've done a wonderful job here today, playing our games and everything else like that too. And I think I speak for all of us, is that we love you very much, and we're so grateful for all that you've given us as human beings, but also to the Chorus of Westerly. And all of these, I'm sure, and I hope many of your former students get a chance to tune in, and they would express the same appreciation. I know how thoughtful, I know how much Genevieve in particular thinks of you, because we see her the most. But you brought several other of your students to us, and they have just, they've helped us. They've helped us fulfill our mission, which is to, harness the power of music to transform lives and nourish this community soul. And you've been a big part of that. And we are so very grateful. And thank you for coming on with us here today. Make sure you vote for the URI Arts Bond so Audrey can have an office that wasn't built in the olden days, I guess. And Andrew used to do his theater there, and Andrew did his lessons there, and Mike, Aimee, and I guess, popped in there and watched shows from time to time.
I went to a lot of shows.
Yeah, we went to a lot of shows there over time.
So I have a little story about Andrew when he was a student.
Which one? Oh,
Andrew Howell.
yeah.
Thank God.
We don't want Andrew Ledesky show. Andrew Ledesky stories are for a different show.
So I was a new professor, and Andrew was already student teaching. And during the student teaching seminar, he asked something about, how do I teach children to sing? It was like, how do I teach them to sing? Because they weren't singing. Like, how do I get them to sing or something? And I remember just looking at him thinking, I have 2 minutes. Like, how do I help him with this? Like, I need to. And so I think perhaps, Andrew, that when you were so gracious to bring me on and be part of the Chorus of Westerly, I think that's how long it's taking me to help answer that question.
Well, thank you for really committing to it.
I mean, it sounds so simplistic. You weren't. It was more about motivation than anything else. But sometimes when people say that you were a student of mine, I mean, you were already well into. You had already done so many things that I've always considered you my peer.
Thank you.
That's wonderful stuff.
And thank you for the wonderful, kind words, Ryan.
Of course.
I'm very appreciative.
Of course. Well, thank you for joining us, by the way, today on Pam's birthday. Happy birthday, Pam.
He had a.
The fact that was queued up and ready to go is beyond.
I was gonna only wish you a happy birthday. I blew it.
Well, I didn't actually know if that was queued up or not, but our thanks to Ben Barber behind the glass, producing this for us every week and having the graphics ready to go. So, my friends, thanks again to the Rhode Island State Council on the Arts. Make sure you vote for the Arts Bonds, number 1, number 6, and take a look at all the other ones. Support your local businesses. Go have a Gray Sale beer, get some Hauser chocolates, go shop at the Blue Mitten all around town. Take care of each other. And on behalf of Andrew Howell, Andrew Ledesky, Aimee Blanchett, Mike Freitas, and our guest, Dr. C. Whoosh, I'm Ryan Saunders. We'll see you in a couple weeks in the next Community Chorus Show. Good night.
Good night.